Hopefully, you won't need this advice, but just in case you know someone who has experienced the loss of a loved one and you are not sure how to respond, here are some tips. Please share this with persons, as you never know, it may prove useful one day. The loss of a loved one can be very challenging for their friends and families, usually referred to as the bereaved. It can also be difficult for persons who would like to provide support, with a common statement being, "I do not know what to say," or "I am not good with these things." Here are a few suggestions of things that can be done to make the process less awkward, uncomfortable, or anxiety provoking for persons who want to say a word of condolence, encouragement, or provide support. Please note that before using a tip, take into account your personality. Is this something I would say or do? Your relationship with the bereaved, and the nature of the person's death. After hearing about the death of an individual, it is common to not know what to do or say. But even calling and saying this is better than not reaching out, especially if you have a close relationship with the bereaved. Here are some statements which can be made when making contact. My sincere condolences to you and your family. I am so sorry to hear about your loss. I heard about name of person. I am so sorry. I am so sad to hear about the loss of your, could be father, husband, brother, sister, mother. Anything of that nature can be used. Remember, if you do not have a close relationship to the bereaved, the conversation can end with them simply just stating thank you. However, for some persons, they may make inquiries about how the person had died, but when they're leaving, it is encouraged that persons use statements such as, I will keep you and your family in my prayers. I pray the Lord will bring you comfort during this difficult time. If you need to talk, I am here. If you need anything, you can call. You could also say, may his soul or her soul rest in peace. A common statement that is used is God knows best, or the person is in a better place. This may be true, but it is not as effective, especially when speaking to persons who are unbelievers or who have different views as it relates to death. Here are some additional tips. If a person is crying, your job is to comfort and provide support, not to stop the person from crying because you are uncomfortable. Some things you can do may include giving the person a hug, providing a shoulder to cry on, being present. And being present means you just sit in the room quietly and let the person know you are there without having to say a word or interact with them, just allowing them to cry and process all that is happening. You could also just be there listening to anything that they need to share at that point in time. Though the tears may feel a little uncomfortable for you, it is best for you to allow this process to take place. Especially if you're close to the bereaved, reaching out will be an ongoing thing. Some persons, or if you're like me, you're uncomfortable saying, how are you? Because think about it. How do you really think the person is at this point in time? But some statements you could try are, how are you coping? How is everyone managing? How have you been doing? Great times to reach out would be before the funeral, especially after the funeral, because this can be a very lonely time for the person. The birthday of the deceased, wedding anniversaries, milestones that the deceased would have been very instrumental in, and the anniversary of the death of the deceased. These are great times to check in just to see that the person is coping well. Following the funeral, please remember to not put a timeline on how long the person is allowed to grieve. It will be common for the grieving individual to periodically cry or constantly repeat stories about the deceased. Try to be understanding during this time. Do not constantly remind the person that they've told that story before. Just listen. Try not to cut off the person or seem annoyed because they are repeating the story. And please do not tell the person that they should have been over it by now. If you do think the person needs counseling or assistance, then encourage it. Losing a loved one can be a very emotional, lonely, taxing, and overwhelming experience, but you never know the difference a smile, a nod of reassurance, or a word of encouragement may make.